He is scary, and I'm only a few episodes in. I think he's a sociopath. It's terrifying to watch him. I stopped watching after this. I couldn't believe the producers let this happen. Chris is in a league of his own. Malicious, scary, manipulative, and a pathological liar. This guy is so fucking dumb, bro. In the spring of 2021, reality TV fans were introduced to the season 12 cast of the US version of hit international dating show Married at First Sight, where fans were cursed with meeting Chris. A man so toxic that not only do all the fans think he's the franchise's biggest villain, but even the showrunners themselves have called him an extraordinary narcissist and openly regret casting him. Today, we'll be covering the first 5 episodes of Chris's time on the show. From his introduction as a self-obsessed misogynist, his disgusting creep father, whom Chris clearly takes after, and the wedding, where he meets his new wife, and immediately starts the manipulation. So, let's get into it. In case you haven't seen it before, the premise of Married at First Sight is pretty straightforward. Hundreds of applicants are asked hundreds of questions. They meet with supposed relationship experts who interview them and their family. These experts then go through all these candidates and decide who they're going to match together. And in the very beginning of the season, these couples then get married to each other completely sight unseen, with the rest of the season following these newlywed couples over the next 8 weeks or so, until the finale of the season, Decision Day, where each couple decides if they're going to remain married or end the relationship then and there. And it's on this show where we meet the subject of today's video, Chris. Chris, real name Chris Williams II, is a 27-year-old self-described finance manager and allegedly failed restaurant owner from Atlanta, Georgia. Chris is financially successful, or at least he would like you to think he is. He has fancy clothes and a nice car, and he says is building his empire.
Living in a place that I wanted to live in. Buy the clothes I want. If I want it, I get it.
So what's a young, handsome, well, I don't know about handsome, successful guy like Chris going on a show like Married at First Sight? Well, this is his answer.
I want to be married at first sight because I want a woman that is not after me for my money. Intelligent, submissive, sexy, good in bed, and a freak.
Yeah, this is who we're dealing with today. A guy so juvenile, a guy so dumb-brained, that's given 5 criteria for his ideal partner. 4 of them have to deal in some way with sex.
A life without those things would be a sad Christopher with blue balls.
So maybe not the best introduction of all time, but hold on to your hats because we're just getting started. He says he wants a maximum of 7 kids. He says that your last name is your brand and your business. And because your job as a business owner is to train people under you to serve that business, it's also your job if you have kids to train them under you, I guess to serve your last name or something. A very weird metaphor. I don't really like the idea of framing your family and raising kids as a business to serve you as an owner. That just doesn't sound right to me. But Chris actually says the quiet part out loud, as he says directly multiple times this season, in fact, that his whole goal with having kids is this.
Your job is to train them, is to replicate yourself.
And now he's going on the show to look for a wife, to start a family with him so that they can build their empire together. Or in my translation, he's looking for a quiet, submissive, hot woman for him to have a bunch of sex with, who will keep her mouth shut and facilitate his narcissistic endeavors of replicating himself into the world. And unfortunately, you're not going to believe it, the show's so-called experts actually do their best to make that happen with a woman named Paige. Now, if you've watched my videos in the past, then you know that I generally avoid using terms like narcissist or psychopath when I describe shitty people. I think those terms are widely overused on the internet and think we can absolutely call someone a manipulative, lying asshole without having to escalate everything into some kind of diagnosis. I guess what I'm saying is, we gotta bring back assholes, man. Give me more of that. Don't DM me. However, today is a special case, because not only has the show's own relationship expert and tenured college professor, Dr. Pepper Schwartz, called Chris an extraordinary narcissist after the show, but multiple other licensed professionals have also used Chris as an example to discuss how a narcissist behaves. So for a little fun throughout the video, when I refer to Chris or his actions as narcissistic, I'll be putting this little cheat sheet on screen so we know what I'm talking about, and at the end of the video, let's see how many points Chris gets. So far we've got, I'm so rich and successful, girls are only after my money. I need a hot, sexy wife to bang, and I will be sad without one. My family is a business that I own, and my goal with kids is to replicate myself. So, not off to a great start, but let's get back to the show. The victim of Chris's season-long abuse and toxicity is a woman named Paige, a successful 26-year-old accountant who also moonlights as a realtor. In a stark contrast to Chris, Paige seems to be going on the show for all the right reasons. She seems to be an incredibly sweet and loving person, has always wanted love and marriage in her life.
I'm ready to love on this man despite all his flaws, despite his morning breath, whatever the case may be. This is my husband and I'm going to be there for him.
An admirable approach that unfortunately gets completely taken advantage of by Chris. But the biggest thing about Paige, and her most defining characteristic, is her devotion and love of God.
I do believe that it is my purpose on this earth. God cultivated me to find love and to have children.
And while you'd think this might cause some problems being with a man like Chris, this is actually the best case scenario for him. Because, if you can believe it, Chris is actually from a family of preachers and was even an ordained minister at one point. God help us all. Really not the guy you want representing your faith on TV, but as we'll see, there's a reason why so many Christians online believe Chris is not actually the spiritual man he claims to be, and is simply cosplaying as one to get what he wants. So the experts meet up, they decide to pair Paige and Chris together. They will later publicly admit that this was a mistake on their part, that Chris did a total 180 on them, that the Chris they knew was not at all the person that ended up on screen. The host of the show, this guy, Pastor Williams, breaks the good news to Paige and Chris that they have a match and they're going to be married. Paige is excited, her dreams are coming true. Chris is excited and says he's going to give everything to this process in order to perpetuate his legacy, and even says he would like that legacy building to start immediately.
Best case scenario is honeymoon night, I get her pregnant. That's the best case scenario.
Sheesh, this guy moves fast. Is it not enough to marry a complete stranger you've never talked to before? You also have to get her pregnant and have a baby with her? And sometime later, we see all the guys and the girls meet up with each other for the first time to discuss their upcoming marriages and build a sense of camaraderie. The 5 guys are hanging out, talking about what they're most excited for, having a good time, until Chris reveals to everyone that he's actually been engaged before. And it wasn't when he was young or a few years ago. His engagement was actually called off 3 months ago.
We met September of last year, relationship October, I proposed in February, and we broke up a few months after that.
Yep.
Right. He proposed to a woman 5 months after meeting her and decided to get married at first sight 3 months after their wedding was called off. Yeah, something about this just doesn't seem like he's really in this for the right reasons. Oh, and when he was asked why the relationship ended, Chris answered by saying this.
It was just a difference in opinions as to how relationships should go and flow.
Yeah, I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that he probably cheated. Chris also tells the guys that his biggest fear around this whole getting married thing is what if his wife is ugly?
My biggest fear is that she is ugly.
She's what?
That she's ugly.
Oh.
And after Chris talking about his wife possibly being ugly and how much he wants a honeymoon baby, the rest of the guys leave thinking Chris is a pretty weird dude.
He'll just say some random.
He seems like a little bit different. I mean, he's certainly awkward, really strange. Chris, just a little sketchy.
We then see Chris meet up with his mentor / big brother, Pastor Dwight, to discuss his upcoming marriage. Chris tells Pastor Dwight again, I'm just so rich and successful, I'm sick of all these gold-digging hoes coming after me, and so grateful to go on the show where there's no way a woman can be after me and my money. And when asked what kind of lessons Chris has learned from his previous failed relationships, Chris drops this amazing gem on us.
When we had sex, before we actually got to fully know each other, all of them failed.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned is that sex can cloud your judgment.
Wow, man. What a modern poet. What a philosopher. I can't believe this guy and his genius intellect is gracing us with his presence. And he tells us that because of all this reflection he's done,
I may not have sex with her the first time that we meet or on the honeymoon.
Wait, you're not gonna have sex during the honeymoon? But you just told us like 3 different times that you wanted a honeymoon baby. So that doesn't line up. But also, how is he gonna say here to his pastor, remember, a spiritual figure in his community, someone he wants to have a good reputation with, that lust has blinded me and I really wanna get to know the person first, when at the very beginning of this whole process, he said this.
Submissive, sexy, good in bed, and a freak.
This isn't just mixed messages with Chris. This actually fits a long pattern with Chris that we're going to see throughout the entire season of Chris having two completely separate identities. He has the image of himself he'd like the world to see, the successful, put-together, rich guy, man of substance and faith, and his actual behavior. A thoroughly toxic and abusive narcissist. And it's that very phony mask that we see continuously slip off throughout the rest of the season.
Bold, courageous, ambitious, determined, confident. I do believe that I've been called and I was born to be a father and to reproduce myself.
Oh, and then we see this religious, God-fearing man bring a blow-up doll to his bachelor party. Yeah, real consistent there. And now, after all that build-up, we're finally at the main event. The wedding where these two people get married at first sight, and the first time these two meet. The wedding starts off pretty good. We see Chris sending up a little prayer, thanking God for the opportunity to be married and to have a bunch of kids immediately. He's standing up at the altar. He says hello to Paige's family. Chris is obviously worried if his bride's about to be ugly, but in an awful and not so surprising way, we see his parents worry about the same thing.
I'm ready to see my daughter. If she's pretty and saved, it's a wrap.
But if she ain't?
If she's ugly.
Family of preachers, by the way. Paige is happy. She's excited to meet her husband. She feels like the Holy Spirit itself is talking to her right now.
If she walks down the aisle and I'm not immediately attracted to her, I don't know what I'm going to do, to be perfectly honest with you.
God, I know attraction is important, but is it really the only thing on your mind right now? And as she enters the reception and Chris finally lays eyes on her, he says this. That didn't look like a good oh shit to me. Now, we'll find out what Chris meant by that a little later, but at least Chris's parents think she's beautiful, so there's that, I guess. And surprisingly, the rest of the wedding goes okay. The pastor yaps her a bit, the two of them give their vows, and actually, Chris's vows are pretty decent. And the two of them seemingly happily say I do. Chris is a little relieved because he believes his wife has a nice shape. And after they walk out, they finally get to meet over a table and actually get to know each other. And here is where everything starts going downhill. The conversation starts off pretty weird because when Chris asks Paige what she does for work, and when she says she's an accountant and realtor, Chris responds by doing this.
Really? God, dog. That's
Yeah,
scary.
so-
That's scary.
Why is it scary?
So, man.
What?
So I'm an entrepreneur, so.
You're an entrepreneur. What do
Yeah.
you do?
Oh, that's scary. So anyway, about me. Given everything else we've seen of Chris, I genuinely believe that he went into this conversation expecting Paige to be beneath him in that way, and was looking forward to swoop in and humble brag about how rich and successful he is. But then finding out that Paige is actually successful in her own right, Chris is then caught off guard and just has to go, oh, scary. Anyway, I'm really great too. Just a small example of Chris's extremely fragile ego being threatened. Chris asks her how many tattoos she has. Paige says she has 3, asks Chris if he has any tattoos. And then he goes, oh yeah, I actually have one on my wrist that I just got a few days ago. I'm guessing he probably asked her if she had tattoos just so that she would ask him if he had tattoos so he could share the story. Again, making everything about him. And when she asks, oh wow, that's so recent, why'd you get it? He answers with this.
To be perfectly honest with you, last year, me and my ex, we got our names tatted on us. And I never had a chance to get it covered up.
Okay, little concerning for Paige. Chris brings up his ex again, saying that it's weird Paige has a dog because his ex also had a dog. And still reeling from the first 2 comparisons, Chris then tells Paige he was engaged to this woman and broke up 3 months ago.
I was engaged.
Really?
Yeah, my last relationship was a few months ago, to be perfectly honest with you.
What is going on?
Man, can you imagine being Paige in this scenario? You just got married, you've been looking forward to this, ready to start your new life, and you immediately get 3 red flags about this guy and his previous relationships. Paige is holding it together here, but if I was in her position, I'd be completely terrified. Paige and Chris then return to the rest of the party. We see Chris's dad again tell Chris that his wife has a nice shape.
Hey, wife.
She cold, bro.
She bad.
She cold.
Son, she got a nice.
She gonna dust you.
Son, I'ma just put it out there, son. I ain't gonna even play with it no more. I'ma put it right out there.
I'd really like to believe that this is the dad knowing how looks-based Chris is and is trying to reassure him or talk to him on his level or something. But honestly, it really doesn't look like that. It looks like the dad is just as much of a creep as Chris is. While Paige confides in her bridesmaids that their chemistry may not be there. She feels very disconnected from Chris, like he's not really all there. She means that in one way, but I think that actually applies quite generally to Chris. There's even the scene where they're doing the wedding photo shoot together, and the photographer's like, okay, get close together. Yep, look at each other. Actually pay attention to it. Look like you like her, Chris. Can you just look a little more like you actually want to be here, Chris? Like, yes, okay, good.
I just wish he was like looking at me a little bit more. I'm just hoping that this is nerves and that, we can, open up a little better to one another.
And then we get to the wedding dinner where the two of them can talk a little bit more. Paige asks Chris how he came to be in Atlanta, and Chris tells Paige that, well, it's because I was homeless. He apparently left his previous life in Chicago to be a used car salesman or something in Florida, and for the first 4 months or so of this experience, he was living out of his car. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with that, if this is part of his rags to riches story, then fair enough. But he claims that God put him in that position to humble him, and that he used to have a big ego, but doesn't anymore.
My ego used to be bad, but I don't really have a big ego anymore. I try to learn from each relationship stuff, so.
Now, obviously, that's completely untrue and just another example of the vast difference between the image he portrays of himself and his actual character. But man, can you imagine if he's actually telling the truth here and this is him without a big ego? Man, what a menace to society he would have been. Paige asks him a bit more about his previous failed engagement. What was the deal with that? Why did the two of you break up? And Chris answers with this.
I didn't trust her and she didn't trust me. I felt like I didn't have her undivided attention. I did have my friendships, you know what I'm saying? Because I felt like I was missing companionship.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and translate all that real quick. That means that they broke up because she didn't trust him after he probably cheated on her a bunch because she wasn't giving him enough sex. That's sure what it sounds like to me. And again, the narcissism. I didn't have her undivided attention. You mean you failed to make the entire relationship and all aspects completely about you? But as the pattern continues with Chris, things only go from bad to worse. When, after Paige is done asking her questions, Chris decides to ask a few questions of Paige. And this is how he starts.
Are you a virgin?
No. What made you think that?
No, I was just asking. I don't know.
What a question to ask of your spouse at your wedding dinner. Is that really the most pressing thing on your mind right now? More stuff about sex? Well, as it turns out, actually yes. Because he then asks Paige if she has a high sex drive.
Do you have a high sex drive?
Why would you need to ask that again? What's the point at all other than to be a complete creep and make another implication of what you want from her? He then says he's fasted from masturbating for 3 days before this, so he could come into this experience with a clear mind.
Pure mind, pure motives, pure intentions and stuff.
Which, for one, doesn't work like that. It's not called post-ejaculation clarity for no reason. But have you had sex? Do you like sex? Hey, I haven't done anything in a while, just FYI. Come on, man. We all know what you're doing. You're sexualizing the conversation, you're escalating to a certain outcome, and it's entirely centered around what you want. And then he asks this.
Are you on contraception?
Man, just what a fucking creep. You know, some of the other people I've covered in the past, like Steven from Love is Blind, my last video, those kind of guys also over-sexualize conversations and kind of push it in that creepy, weird direction. But at least when they do it, they have enough sense of some kind of social awareness to kind of hide it behind a joke or Trojan horse it into the conversation in some way. But if you noticed, when Chris asks these questions, he's dead serious. No change of expression, that same dumb, aloof face on his face, which is actually another pattern that we'll see with Chris. He'll act so belligerent, so offensive and in your face, but he'll do it with such an extreme kind of confidence and nonchalance, where it's almost kind of disarming. Like here with Paige asking all these sexual questions, he's talking about it like he's talking about the weather.
Are you a virgin?
What made you think that?
No, I was just asking. I don't know.
As if it's so normal and accepted, and that has the effect that someone in Paige's position kind of goes, huh? Oh, I guess. I mean, there's no way that he's actually a raging narcissist and doesn't think about anyone else, right? And we'll actually see this come up again even more offensively in just a few minutes. But for now, the dinner ends and Paige and Chris go on to socialize with the other guests. We then see Paige meet up with Chris's mom and dad, and immediately the dad gets to work on being a major fucking creep.
You're very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you guys. I'm impressed with you, I really am. So what do you think about Chris?
Oh my gosh,
I don't know why. Well, I guess I actually do know why. It's because the dad's repeatedly made these creepy comments about Paige's body. But even though he's just saying hello to her here, the way he's looking at her, it almost kind of looks like the dad's forgotten that he's the dad, and kind of looks like he's seeing Paige as someone he's meeting at a bar and trying to talk up. You know what I mean? That look in his face, it almost looks like he's trying to flirt with her, you know? I don't know, maybe I'm reading into that, but the vibes are there. Paige then asks the parents if they have any advice for her and her marriage, and interestingly, we get two very different responses. With the mother giving some good advice, do your best to communicate, don't let problems fester, and interestingly, to take your time having babies. However, of course, not only does the dad give conflicting advice, his advice makes me wish he was on some sort of list.
This is the master key for him.
Okay, Dad, now we're talking. What is Chris's master key?
Working the hours that he worked. When he comes home, he's exhausted.
right,
Okay, where are we going with this?
right.
He wants the touch of his wife. He wants to be intimate with his wife.
Yeah. A woman asks for marriage advice. How do we live our lives together, navigate all the complications of relationships or kids, the entire world? How should I live my life with this person? And the dad says, just have a bunch of sex with them. That's the master key. That'll solve every problem. Every problem in the world is reduced to just getting laid. What a fucking idiot. Also, why does she have to hear this from his dad? This is some 50-year-old guy she's never met before, and he already feels comfortable enough to tell her that you need to have a lot of sex with my son? But the dad doesn't stop there. No, because if you've already crossed a boundary, why not just keep going?
And he don't want that to be once a month, but he wants that to be once you understand and grow together. He wants it to be pretty consistent, you know?
Really now, you're not just gonna tell your daughter-in-law to bang your son a bunch, but now you're gonna give her a goddamn schedule about it? And the framing of this, like this is the master key. Like this is all you have to do. The subtext of that is that you're only used to Chris, your only contribution to this marriage is to make him happy and have sex with him. Reducing her entire worth to her body and sexuality. Bro, I don't care if this has any kind of religious backing or some kind of more conservative or Christian value. I don't give a shit. Get this idea, this sense of obligation and your value as a person or as a man or woman, get this fucking out of society, bro. You can have conversations about physical intimacy or communicating your love and affection towards each other. I'm not saying there's no conversation to be had about sex's place in a marriage, but this kind of archaic, obligatory, demanding, servicing mindset, oh my God, just get this shit out of here. And the dad finishes this whole stupid rant with one final piece of advice to Paige.
He's not really complicated. Non-argumentative and being intimate.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, so there you have it, okay?
Just be non-argumentative and intimate. Translation, sit down, shut up, and let him have sex with you. Don't have any opinions of your own, don't have any of your own goals and values or speak your mind, just shut up, just lay down, turn your brain off, and be literally nothing more than a physical object for him to use. My God, what the fuck is wrong with some people, bro? Like, this makes me so mad. So clearly we can understand where Chris gets it from, but to switch gears a little bit, we then see Chris talk to Paige's bridesmaids. And I wish I can say it goes better, but you'll see. It's a pretty casual conversation. Chris is propping one arm up, the women are all having a drink, when Chris casually reveals to everyone that he was previously engaged just a few months ago. The women are like, okay, that was pretty recent. Do you feel like you're over all of that and ready for this new marriage? And Chris just says, well, to be honest with you, that was pretty tough. That was a huge learning experience. That was pretty emotional for me. Okay, not the biggest vote of confidence, but he says this relationship is totally different from the ones in his past Because
What are the type of women you used to?
The opposite of Paige. Like the real pritzy girls, pretty girls, like
So she's
trophy wives.
Paige is a trophy wife. That's out the box, but
I don't think she's a trophy wife.
oh my God. Yeah, your friend Paige, she's so different than anyone I'm used to. You see, I'm usually dating pretty girls, you know, like trophy wives, traditionally attractive women that people like to look at. Yeah, nothing like your friend Paige. Now, as much as it pains me to say this, I might give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt here, because Chris then talks about how she does have a fat ass and the body of a goddess and is really nice to talk to and very easy to get along with. So I kind of think he was trying to say that he usually goes for the gold digging kind of trophy wives, the ones that only want to be arm candy and use him for his money, which he's complained about a dozen times already. I think that's what he's trying to say here, and for some reason just wants to communicate that in the most demeaning way possible. And right after that, he says this.
Paige, she is probably the woman that I need, but not the woman that I wanted.
Why would you say it like that? You see what I mean with the confidence with which he says these things? He says these clearly belligerent and offensive things in such a nonchalant way that you have to conclude that he's either completely socially inept and has no concept of social norms, or that this is a genuine reflection of actual narcissism. Having only a vaguely intellectual understanding of how this impacts other people, but ultimately not giving a single shit because it's all about you. And furthering my point, the bridesmaids then ask Chris what he's most excited about for this marriage, and he says,
what excites you the most about Paige so far?
Honeymoon baby talk.
Were you just playing around? You really want kids? So you're just joking. We're not about to like shoot the club up tonight.
I have a strong pull-out game.
Now, y'all have to understand, these kind of comments would already be kind of weird with friends that you already know. If he and Paige have been together for 5 years and he joked about this with her friends, that's already like, Joking about it on your wedding day, that's a little weirder in my opinion. But he's at his wedding talking to his wife's friends for the first time, telling them bluntly, directly, as if this is obvious to everyone, that the thing he's most looking forward to with your guys' best friend that I just met is having sex with her. Imagine this fucking parasite shows up in your life for an hour and just goes, yeah, your best friend, can't wait to... I don't even want to talk about it. Like, you can imagine, like, that's what he's saying. But again, because he does it in this joking, casual, there's no way he's being this narcissistic right now way, that instead you get the side eyes like, ha, very funny, like, he's just being a little socially uncomfortable, right? But no, this is Chris, and this is how he will act for the entire rest of the season. And for those of you thinking this must be a made-up character that he's putting on for TV, no. Unfortunately, he has acted the exact same way for years online on social media. Unfortunately, there are real psychopaths and narcissists that walk among us. They do like notoriety and attention oftentimes. And these kind of people will have no problem going on a show and showcasing their horrible personality to the world because they truly believe they're better and above everyone else. And they get to string some people along, feel powerful, get some attention, get a little check from being on the show, and live their happily ever after. At least in their head. So he finishes up talking to the bridesmaids. Paige then meets with her friends. And although they all voice their very valid concerns with Chris, they also share that underlying message that maybe he is well-meaning and just has a dry sense of humor. And the wedding day ends with Chris telling us that despite not initially finding Paige attractive, he is starting to warm up on her and is debating whether or not to make good on all that honeymoon baby talk. But although today's video ends there, this was truly just the beginning of the franchise's biggest villain. I'm talking multiple physical altercations, leaving the honeymoon to be with his ex, who later claims she's pregnant with his kid. Chris's manipulative reaction to that, gifting his ex a Mercedes, and telling Paige he's not interested in his ex, but then saying that he is interested and he's actually still in love with her and wants to be with her, but not really, and then wants to be with Paige, and this whole thing with the ex is just completely made up. What are you talking about? I'm not gaslighting you at all. Constantly stringing Paige along with a whole host of manipulation tactics, and a whole slew of Chris lying and fake crying his way to becoming the most hated. That's all I got for today's video. Thank you so much for staying till the end. I watched the whole season and I could really make like 8 or 9 videos of just Chris alone. He's really that bad with that much content around him. So let me know if this was interesting and I'll make more. Otherwise, I think I have another guy from Love is Blind that y'all have wanted me to talk about. A big thank you to all of your channel members for supporting this channel and helping keep the lights on. And if you'd like to see any of these videos as soon as I'm done with them and not wait until they're finished uploading, then you can become a member by hitting the join button below and hitting subscribe and liking the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And until next time, I'll see you later.